Hello and welcome to New Hope for Today. My name is Pastor Andrew Hise, and I'm the pastor at New Hope Friends Church in Goldsboro, North Carolina. Now, over this past week, we've been taking a look at Luke chapter 1 in a series that's going to be taking us up to Christmas Day that we've entitled The Women of Advent or The Women of Christmas. Now, of course, up to this point in Luke's Gospel, we've only been introduced to one woman, and that is Elizabeth. Now, Elizabeth, we last left her having become pregnant after being barren for her entire adult life. And actually, she was beyond the ability to have children in her life. But miraculously, God allowed her to get pregnant with John, who was going to become known as John the Baptist. Now, we last left her after having just become pregnant, then sitting in silence and hiding for 5 months, keeping it to herself. And now, today, we're going to be introduced to another woman, an amazing woman by the name of Mary. And of course, we all know Mary is the mother of Jesus. She's introduced in Luke 1, starting in verse 26. And notice she's introduced by a time marker. It says, in the 6th month. Now, we might ask, what does this mean? What is the 6th month here? Is this the 6th month of the year? Is this June? Is this the 6th month of the calendar? What is this? Well, the only time indicator that we've had in this chapter up to this point is the time that Elizabeth kept herself hidden, and that's for 5 months. So naturally, what we would think, Luke's a very analytical guy. He's a doctor. He thinks very logically. So for us to think logically makes sense here that this is the 6th month of Elizabeth's pregnancy. And I just think that's amazing that God allowed Luke supernaturally to write this as his word, as a time marker, using Elizabeth's pregnancy as a time marker. Now, Liz Curtis Higgs, in her book, The Women of Christmas, actually comments on this as well. This is what she says. She says, this wasn't the 6th month of the year. It was 6 months after Elizabeth knew she was to become a mother. Imagine the Lord using an expectant mother's growing waistline to measure time. Now, what she says next is very important, and I think it's a very valid point for all of you today, and I want you to understand this. She says, never doubt for a moment that women matter to the Almighty. Today, I want you to understand that if you're a lady, if you're a woman, you matter to God. All people matter to God. But many times we can in our churches have this stigma that women don't matter as much. They're second rate or they're the helpmate. But know this, women matter just as much to God as men do. So if you're a lady today and you need to hear that, you're not a second-rate citizen. You're not second to your husband. You matter too. Well, we're introduced here, of course, to Mary, right, by this time indicator, and we're introduced to a similar situation. Mary here is put into a similar situation to Elizabeth's husband, Zechariah. Now, Zechariah went into the holy place. He was burning incense on the altar in this religious setting, and all of a sudden, God spoke to him through an angel coming to him. And his response was to be incredulous, to ask for a sign. But Mary here, we're going to see, is put into a little bit different situation, but she's visited by God by the same angel, Gabriel. It tells us in verse 26 that in the 6th month, the angel Gabriel was sent from God to a city of Galilee named Nazareth, to a virgin betrothed to a man whose name was Joseph of the house of David, and the virgin's name was Mary. And he came to her and he said, greetings, O favored one, the Lord is with you. But she was greatly troubled at the saying, and she tried to discern what sort of greeting this might be. Now, I just imagine imagine the scene for a moment. You're a young, maybe 12, 13, 14-year-old girl. You're minding your own business. You're betrothed. You know you're going to be married one day. Maybe, I don't know, it doesn't tell us what time of day this was, but maybe she was just going about her business, just hanging out with her friends, or what, I don't know. Maybe she was by herself, trying to be, a good, expecting, betrothed woman. And all of a sudden, this guy shows up, and he starts to talk to you. This angel shows up, and this is how he introduces himself. Greetings, O favored one, the Lord is with you. I mean, she was taken aback by that. What does that mean, that I'm favored, that God is with me? What does that mean? So she tries to understand what that is. And so the angel, sensing maybe that she's pulling away in some way, or at least a little fearful, answers this way. He says this, and the angel said to her, "Don't be afraid, Mary, for you have found favor with God. And behold, you will conceive in your womb and bear a son, and you shall call his name Jesus. And he will be great and will be called the Son of the Most High. And the Lord will give him the throne of his father David, and he will reign over the house of Jacob forever. And his kingdom, and to his kingdom there will be no end." Now, this sounds very similar to what Gabriel said to Zechariah. Of course, this is even much more of a big promise than Elizabeth conceiving. This is a greater man that's going to come. And the way Zechariah responds is with a question: how can I know this? How will I know that this is going to happen? But notice how Mary responds. Instead of saying, "How can I know this? What's the sign?" She says, "How will this be, since I am a virgin?" She doesn't ask for a sign here. She's not doubting that this is going to happen. She just says a very practical question: how is this going to happen? And the angel gives her a very practical response. He says this: "The Holy Spirit will come upon you, and the power of the Most High will overshadow you. Therefore, the child to be born will be called Holy, the Son of God." And not only does he tell her how, he also gives her a sign that what he's saying is true. He says, "Behold, your relative Elizabeth, in her old age, has also conceived a son, and this is the 6th month with her who he has called barren. For nothing will be impossible with God." And this is the most amazing thing. Notice in response to this very practical question, how is God going to do this? How are you going to make a way? Not give me a sign that you're going to do this. How will you do this? He not only tells her how he's going to do it, he gives her a sign that he will do it, and a promise that nothing that God does, nothing that God's a part of, and nothing that we would think may be impossible is impossible for God. This is a miracle that's about to happen in her life. She's about to be a virgin, the only person that did not have sexual relations with a man to conceive and be pregnant. This is a miracle of God. But know this today: nothing is impossible for God. Is it okay to question what God is going to do or how he's going to do something? Absolutely. But know this today: if you're facing an impossible situation, it's okay to question and say, "God, how can this happen? How will this be?" Just never doubt that God can work every situation, even the most impossible situations, out for your good. He did it by saving all of us through this very child who she was going to have, through Jesus. How can this be? It seems impossible. No, but with God, even sinners can become saints. New Hope for Today is a daily video devotional brought to you by Pastor Andrew Hise of New Hope Friends Church. New Hope Friends Church is located at 4451 U.S. Highway 70 East in Goldsboro, North Carolina. New Hope for Today. Strength for today. Hope for tomorrow.